Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tactical Talk with Mad Dog Armory. I am one of your hosts, Jillian, and my faithful partner,
Sidekick,
Shad.
Hi.
Welcome. We're here. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, and we're here. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for watching. We're here every Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. on WeBeam TV. You can find us on YouTube, and we stream on our Facebook Live, I believe.
Yep.
On Friday at 6 p.m.
So
thank you again for joining us. Basically, Shad and I own Mad Dog Armory, which is a gun shop and retail store. We have training, and we're very passionate about education.
Sure enough. Yeah.
So we opened Mad Dog Armory in our original location in 2016, and that's located in Pinellas County. And then we also opened our second location in South Tampa.
Just over a year ago.
We just had our year.
May 4th. May 4th was our year anniversary.
Yes.
So.
Shad is a big Star Wars fan, so it's relevant there. So
it just happened.
It did just happen that way.
It wasn't like we planned it. It just we were ready to open, and that is the
truth.
Day to open, so it just worked out that way.
Because we were kind of delayed a little bit because we were waiting on the ATF and our license.
Bastards.
And so it was delayed, and it wound up being May the 4th. So there you go. So we just had our year, so we're very excited about South Tampa. We've had a great reception there.
Thanks for everybody that came out to the store and has been coming to the store and supporting us. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And supporting our Second Amendment, because that is definitely under attack. So we are very excited to be able to bring you a show like this, and we thank WeBeam TV and the crew and everybody for letting us do this. And we're excited to bring you some information, and please go back and watch our previous shows, because this is number 13.
Oh, shit.
I know.
Lucky number 13 on Lucky number Friday the 13th.
It is also Friday the 13th, and it's our 13th show, and our 13-year anniversary is coming up.
Oh, shit.
So when I was writing the show, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the 13th, and it's our 13th show, and it's our 13th year married. 12 and a half years of wedded bliss. Just kidding. You usually say that. I stole that from you. So.
Something like that.
Yeah. Will you say 5 minutes? What do you say?
4 years of wedded bliss.
4 years? Wow. So again, it is a joke. So again, we're very thankful to have you watching and listening, and we hope you learn something and we educate you and maybe have a little bit of humor involved.
Try to have a good time doing it.
We do.
Obviously, guns are a very serious topic.
Yes.
As long as we're being safe, you can have a good time and still be around firearms.
Yes.
So this thing hasn't killed anybody yet today?
Nope.
Nope.
Or ever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or ever. Yep. Yes. So today's show, number 13, we're going to talk about gun slang. And I'm probably going to...
Slang.
I'm probably going to have to move my mic because there's so many... There's synonyms, initialisms, and gun slang. Also, we're going to do some industry news. But synonyms and initialisms, I said I was going to have a hard time with this one, because we wanted to go over, and we said this last week in last week's show, that we wanted to go over like what certain terms mean in the industry, and synonyms aren't necessarily the right thing. It's actually initialisms, but I've never used that word before, so I was like, what is this word? But that's, so it's pretty funny. There is a difference.
And this is geared more towards new people that are into it, because again, you hear terms and go, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I think some people might also experience, people maybe might not know some of them, but it's just informative. So depending on,
and we might just throw some of those out from time to time, just as kind of a little, I don't want to say filler, but just like maybe a little segment or something like that.
Yeah. But, speaking of segments, Shad has a new segment that we're going to launch today, and that is Shad's new segment called New Shit with Shad. And that's when he's going to go over a couple of new products that are on the market or coming to market.
Yep. Or stuff that's coming in the shop that's finally coming in the shop, because it might be stuff that, it's funny how companies announce what they're going to do. They're like, hey, we have all this great stuff coming out, and then they don't actually get it to us for months.
Yeah.
Some are better than others, but some of the times it just takes forever for us to finally get the product that they're talking about releasing.
Right.
So we have some of that stuff coming in the shop. So I want to kind of bring up some of that as well.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. So New Shit with Chad will be premiering tonight, so yay.
And it may not be every week. We'll see. But if there's
We'll
stuff
try.
coming in, we'll talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if there's nothing really new coming out or whatnot, then,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as Chad mentioned, we are local to the Tampa Bay market. I know we put up the locations and I talked to you about it, but we are local in the Tampa Bay market in Florida. So if you're watching from out of the area, definitely keep in mind that we are in the Tampa Bay market and our stores are in the Tampa Bay market. So,
but you can find us online, right? mdarmory.com.
Yep, absolutely.
We can always ship to your location if you're looking for something. So, yeah.
Yes. So last week's show, we talked about Canix. That's a manufacturer that is becoming really popular in our stores as far as like customers. They're
Right.
kind of buying them up and they really like them. And we talked about the different features that make them
Great
popular.
bang for the buck gun.
Yeah, they're
Definitely.
triggers and
Yep.
and I actually at my shooting club,
Yeah,
I
she finally
shot
got to
it.
shoot hers.
I did that
Yeah.
signature series one that I showed you last week.
How'd you like it?
Loved it, and a couple of the other girls also shot it, and they loved it too. They were like, "Why did you bring this? Now I'm going to have to buy one." So they were really excited about it. So Canic, and then also hearing protection. We went over different types of hearing protection, why you need it, the damage that you can do to your ears is pretty significant. So you're going to want to make sure that you rewatch that show and make sure you have the right hearing protection because that's very important.
My ears are ringing right now,
Yes, exactly.
constantly.
All right, so let's talk guns. So let's get into it. You ready?
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right, I'm excited. Okay, so like I had said earlier, in doing some research, I was trying to figure out like the different names for things and stuff. So acronyms and initialisms are types of abbreviations. So an acronym is formed when you combine those letters. So like FMJ, Full Metal Jacket, right? So when you combine,
But we say that quick, right? But some people go, what the hell does FMJ stand for? And
Correct.
that's kind of what we're talking about.
right?
So, yeah.
But the difference between an acronym and an initialism
Okay.
is an acronym would be like NATO. So you
Right.
wouldn't say NATO, you say NATO.
Right.
Whereas a initialism is FMJ. You wouldn't say FMJ.
Fumja. Right. Okay.
So that's the difference.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? I know, because I was
I'll
like,
never remember it, never use it, but whatever.
I never want to say initialism ever after this show again. So, or VIP. That's
VIP.
another one. You don't say VIP, right? So there's a difference.
Sometimes that's
You
like
do say
dad
it?
joke stuff. I don't know. Because sometimes you say stupid shit like that just to.
The dad jokes do come
Yeah.
like often,
Yes,
so get
yes, they
ready
do.
for them, people.
Flying everywhere.
Yeah, and then a synonym is other words that have the same meaning. So we are going to go in through those,
Right.
but.
Synonyms.
Synonyms. Did I say synonym?
No.
All right.
You will now.
Synonym. So now you're educated. I mean, I know I learned these in grade school, but who the hell
In
remembers?
grade school? You learned that shit in grade school?
Yeah. Didn't you? When did you learn it?
I don't know.
You never learned it. I just taught you it. Oh, yes, I
I
learned
was
that
part
stuff.
of the Florida public
That's
school
true.
system, so I probably didn't learn jack shit.
That's
but
true.
hey.
That's true. All right, so we're going to go over some gun slang. So this is the other stuff. So slang, okay? So
Okay.
I looked up using Slangpedia. I'll give them a little shout out. But these are synonyms or gun slang for some terms that are popular with guns.
Okay.
So the first one is heat or heater. You're packing heat. Is this a synonym? Or, sorry, yeah, a synonym for gun?
Well, so you're packing
You're
heat.
packing.
Right, so you're packing heat,
Heat.
and heat would be a firearm.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, the second one is another name for a gun, a piece.
Absolutely.
Right? You say piece.
Yeah, what kind of piece you got?
This piece shoots nice.
I got a nice piece.
All right. Number 3. This one's funny. A rod. Have you ever heard of a gun called a rod? I've never heard that.
I can't say as I have either.
So an
but
example is
I would
this
think something
rod.
else would be a rod.
This rod resembles a sign of freedom. I can't. All right, I had to put that one in there. 'Cause I almost didn't because I was like, I've never heard of it called that.
never
That's
heard
not
that
very
either.
common to call a gun
I guess
a
it
rod.
depends on where you're at.
That's
You know,
true.
for here, I haven't
true.
heard that, but I also didn't know what the hell, when we first met, she would talk about scutching.
Oh, yeah, scutching.
I'm like, what the hell is scutching?
I'm not touching you. I'm not
Right.
touching you. Yeah.
Right, but I had no idea what that term was.
Right.
Right. So again, maybe different parts of the
Yeah.
country, maybe or something like that. I
People
don't know,
call.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
rod.
it wouldn't be on Slangopedia if it wasn't true. So
I
clearly,
agree.
somewhere in the United States, people call guns
It was up in
rods.
Boston. A bunch of rods up there.
Wow. No offense.
More offense.
All right, number 4. You'll like this one. blaster. Guns are called blasters. The blaster was loaded and ready.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, a blaster is like Star Wars. That's actually a
Well,
blaster.
that's what you think of.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, but what's it doing? So I mean, yeah, I get it.
Check out my
personally
new
have
blaster.
Not, I have not used that term.
Yeah, blaster and rod
But
are
again,
funny.
hey.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Handgun is another one. So
What?
handgun, pistol, right?
Yeah.
So handgun, they drew their handguns and were ready to
Right.
shoot. So handgun is one I'm sure that you've heard.
Right.
And then the last one I have is hardware. He's carrying some
Correct.
serious hardware.
Hardware. Yeah.
Have you heard that one?
Yeah,
I haven't
absolutely.
heard that one
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
Never heard.
That's more of an older thing, and you'll hear it in a lot of older movies and stuff like that. So what kind of hardware do you got?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What kind of hardware are you packing? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So those are the slang terms for gun that you might
Right.
hear.
There's one on there
Yeah.
that I think it's kind of slang to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Weapon,
Yeah.
right? Because ultimately, though, a weapon is used for offensive purposes, and we talk about this a little bit and talk about it a lot in our classes. A weapon is for offensive purposes. So unless you're doing something offensively, not offensively, you don't want to call it a weapon. So police call it a weapon, military call it a weapon.
A lot of people do, you
But
know. I mean,
it's
it's kind of like
tough.
calling a mag a clip. It shouldn't be done, but
Right.
people do it, and we still know what it means. But yes, I agree
Try
wholeheartedly.
to call it something else.
Yeah.
Because God forbid if something happens and you're in a bad situation and
You called it
know,
a weapon.
right,
Yeah.
and you know they're going to go after you. Of
Yeah,
course, they
it's
use
true.
they. When I say the
Prosecution,
but
yeah.
When I say they, I mean the lefties. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Weapon is another good one. So that was a good one. Yeah, absolutely. And then there was another term. It's not necessarily another as a synonym for a gun, but strapped,
Oh, absolutely.
right? So a
Are
lot
you
of people
strapped?
use that.
Yep, I'm strapped.
So if somebody says, "Are you strapped?" then
Yep.
you'll know what they mean.
Yeah.
So step off because I'm fully strapped. That was their example. I was like, wow.
Some of us are fully
If-
strapped.
if-
and we're not carrying. I'm just saying.
You're considered strapped. I
Right.
mean, that's really when you are in possession of a firearm, you're strapped.
Yeah.
So that was
Absolutely,
kind of
100%.
a little bit interesting
Yes.
there. All right, cool. So now we're going to get into some ammo, some synonyms for ammo, and then like some people call different. We'll get into like the initialisms, but right now we're talking
Okay.
about synonyms.
Okay.
So ammo is also called bullets. A lot of people call them bullets.
Correct.
Now, bullets are actually a part of the actual ammunition.
They're one of the 4 components.
Right. So, but a lot of people come in and say, I need some
Bullets.
9mm bullets. You know, I need some
Right.
bullets for my whatever. So bullets is a common thing that people call ammunition, but
Right.
it's really just a component of it. So,
Yeah, so maybe come in and say, hey, I need some ammo or I need some cartridges.
oh, we're going to get into.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I don't know if I have
skip ahead. Sorry
cartridges on.
about that.
I don't have cartridges on here. That's a good one. Yeah. So cartridges is another word for ammo.
Yep.
And then rounds.
Yep, rounds.
Yeah.
Rounds, and that's, again,
Rounds.
because, and why we don't want to say bullets is because people do reload.
Correct.
So then they need one of 4 components in order to do that.
Right.
So now a round is not just a singular part of that, it is all of it encompassing. So
Right.
yes, that would be a good one.
Yeah, because people call them bullet. They say, "Hey, we need bullets," and it's like, well, do you actually need the projectile,
right.
you know, or do you actually want like all of it
Everything.
together?
Right.
Yeah,
Because I can come out with a big ass bag of
Bullets.
bullets and go, here you go, that's not what I need.
right, and they're just the projectile.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. So another term is ammunition, of course, ammunition, ammo,
Right.
shells.
Sure.
Shells is
Shells,
another one. I need
yep.
some shells, so that's good. This one I haven't heard. Bombs and rockets. Have you heard of either one of
Red
those?
glare.
I was like, do people really call ammunition rockets? But again, I guess it depends on where you are.
Maybe.
I've never been, I mean,
Yeah.
rockets to me are rockets, right?
Rockets, right.
So maybe
something
some
that
people-
comes out of here would be considered rockets, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
We're going to talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Because we're going to get into like Picatinny and all that stuff.
Right.
So rocket, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Munitions.
Yes, munitions.
Munitions. So
yeah.
if you want to cut back ammunition, just
Well,
munitions.
if you want to cut back on ammunitions, you say
ammo. Right.
Definitely shorter and easier to say than munitions.
Yep.
But yes.
But some people call it munitions. So if you
Sure.
hear that, that's ammo.
And you'll hear like a munitions dump,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay. Shots. Not really, right? I've never heard that.
Yeah, but
Slugs. Slugs.
So, right. So
I've heard slugs. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's more
Usually
shotgun, right? Shotgun slugs.
Yeah.
So
usually
for sure.
shotgun ammo is called slugs.
Yep.
missiles, I already said, I think, and explosives. Nobody's really ever said that either. But these are synonyms that I found, and I was like, okay,
Somebody might
well,
have
maybe
somewhere
somebody
at some
says
point
it.
in time, but
Yeah.
that's definitely not.
But I wanted to
wouldn't
kind of
go that
cover
way.
every, all the things in case you hear it, then you know that they're talking about ammunition.
Sure.
Like, hey, I need to go get some slugs at the gun
I think
shop.
we get some explosives.
Yeah, some rockets. If somebody says
Some
they got
bombs.
yeah, oh my gosh, that's a bad one, right? Don't say that at the airport.
Yeah. I got some bombs in my bag.
Yeah. You want to head over to the ring?
I got like 50 bombs in my bag.
Oh my gosh, that's a really bad one. Don't say it. If somebody says that, just have them elaborate a little bit. Yeah, Jesus. All right, so those are those.
Okay.
But I do have a little fun one. So
Oh, boy.
slang for being drunk. These are
Sloppy.
These are being fun. Well, that was when I drank. So being pissed. Pissed. Are you pissed right now? Have you ever heard that?
No.
Okay.
I've heard being pissed drunk.
Wait, hold on. Can't
Right?
see.
How about
Pished. 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 Pished.
No, I haven't heard that one. But again,
Crunk.
oh yeah. Got to get your crunk on. Yeah.
Crunk. Sloshed.
Yep.
I've heard sloshed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That person's sloshed.
Yep.
Blasted.
Plastered.
Plastered, I've heard.
Right.
Blasted, that's different.
That is definitely a little bit different. 'Cause
Zonk-
somebody,
oh,
when they
sorry.
got blasted,
Okay.
Right.
Zonked.
Zonked, yeah.
My dad used to say
Yep,
zonked
yep.
all the
I know
time,
zonked,
right?
yeah.
Oh, Grampy, you always used to
Yeah.
say zonked. Oh, I got zonked.
Yep.
Steamed.
punked.
If you're drunk, you're steamed. Okay. And then the last one is inebriated. Another Grampy.
Yeah, that's- yeah,
Grampy used to
yeah.
say inebriated. You're inebriated. So I thought those were funny slang. I actually hit the next button to see if they had more ammunition stuff, and it
Intoxicated.
brought me to there.
Highly intoxicated.
Highly intoxicated, inebriated. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like crunk too.
Crunk.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, fun facts there. All right, so now we're going to get into the initialism. So, we
Okay.
did have some people that were asking for some terminology that they don't know, what stuff is,
Sure.
right? Somebody was talking to you about it.
Yeah, and again, it was somebody that when they were first introduced into firearms, they would hear terms and they had no idea what it was, so they needed to go online and kind of look and see what the stuff meant. So again, I know that we have a lot of first-time viewers as well as first-time gun owners that hopefully are watching and might need some information on what some of this stuff means.
Yeah. And I also wanted to break down different rounds that so 9mm is also sometimes called 9x19, 9 para, 9 Luger, 9mm Luger. So it gets confusing, and I hear that a lot in my beginner
Sure.
classes. Why does mine? Because I have people read,
Right.
their guns.
As you should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have them read their guns and, read what caliber it's, because it's stamped on your gun. And some people say, well, why is mine 9mm wide?
Right.
So I wanted to talk about that too. So we're
Okay.
going to touch on that.
Cool.
So the most common one is FMJ, right?
Okay.
So that type of ammo. So FMJ is a full metal jacket.
Right.
So it's usually used at the range, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be your basic range ammunition. So can it be used for self-defense? Yes, but not.
It's not recommended.
It's not the best stuff for self-defense. There's actually specific ammo for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the difference, the FMJ, so we'll get into the jacketed hollow point and the soft point, but it's the projectile that's
Correct.
the difference.
The bullet.
And we talked about this, the bullet,
Yep.
right? So a full metal jacket is, because the bullet is jacketed.
It's a lead core, usually, and then it has some sort of harder substance on the outside to help kind of keep it together and,
Yes.
so, yeah.
Yep. So it's encased in an outer shell, a jacket of
Right.
harder metal.
Yeah. Now, I was going to say also with full metal jackets, some of the other components may not necessarily be higher quality as some of your self-defense stuff. So maybe the casing isn't as higher quality, the primer and the powder.
Right.
Just for the fact that it's not necessarily life-saving at this point. It's more just going out and what's inexpensive so we can go out to the range and do a lot of practicing.
Right, and just
So-
shoot, and just shoot.
Correct.
And yeah, because usually your self-defense rounds will come in like a 50 pack, whereas
Right.
your self-defense rounds are going to be more like a 20 or 25 pack.
Correct.
So yeah, so you get more range ammo usually for almost
less
always,
money.
right?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
less
for less
money
money.
than you would
Correct.
the self-defense rounds.
Right.
So another one that you hear a lot is JHP, stands for
Jacketed hollow point.
a jacketed hollow point. So that again is the projectile. So the casings and the primers may be the same. Maybe?
More than not, they are going to be better
Similar.
quality. They're going to be higher quality.
Okay, so the jacketed hollow points, their casing too is going to be a better
There is
quality.
one manufacturer, so Sig Sauer, their ammunition they use the same components as far as
Casing
their
and priming.
and their primers and their powder in both their full metal jacket and their jacketed hollow points. You're going to pay more for their full metal jacket stuff because of that.
Right.
But now when you go to train, you're training with basically the exact same stuff as what you're going to use in self-defense.
Which is important. Yeah, it's very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so the jacketed hollow points are going to be, again, the difference is going to be in the projectile.
Correct.
And sometimes I'll see like a hollow point, it'll be like what's just on your screen.
cavern,
and then sometimes there's like a red tip, right? So
Yep,
those could
just
be
the tip.
JHP.
Dad joke. Well, and ultimately, so Hornady makes critical defense and critical duty, and in those particular jacketed hollow points, they have a polymer tip that's in it. And ultimately, that polymer tip is for two different reasons. One, it helps keep the aerodynamics much better, because ultimately, if you just have that big hole, when it's going through the air, it definitely slows it down. So now it's going to give it more velocity, and it also guarantees expansion. So when that hits something, it guarantees that that thing opens up.
Yeah, it stops traveling, which is,
You would hope.
You would hope.
Yeah.
So, and that's the biggest thing to get across to people. It's not the biggest thing, but it's one of the main things, is that your full metal jackets travel, right? So it'll go
Right.
through soft tissue, it'll go through a wall potentially, it'll go through
Correct.
a car door or something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to want to make sure that you're using your hollow points or your defense ammo for that purpose, so
Correct.
it does expand when it hits something,
Right.
right? Because you don't want it to travel through.
Correct.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the full metal jacket, it might malform a little bit, but nothing like a hollow point where
Right.
it actually opens
Mushroom.
up.
It almost mushrooms, yeah.
Correct. It mushrooms open almost to twice its size. That's what they're supposed to do. And again, depending on what people are wearing. I mean, there's so many variables on
Sure.
how these things are going to work.
Yeah.
But the idea is they want to open up and slow down, so it's like air brakes, so they stop and they don't
Yeah.
go out of the body, because we don't want it to leave somebody else and hit a good guy if we're shooting at a bad guy.
Of course.
So.
Or the person behind them or anything like that.
Correct.
And then the last one is JSP. So that's a soft point bullet.
A jacketed soft point.
Jacketed soft point.
And usually what that is that's going to be, there's going to be lead at the tip that is exposed, just the tip again. So like on your screen, so the tip of it is going to be lead, whereas the rest of it is jacketed.
Yeah.
So it does allow for a little bit more malformation, and it could be, cost-wise, it's going to be a little bit less, because now they don't have to cover the whole thing.
Right.
So that could save you some money on the ammo.
Not as common though, right?
You'll
Is
find,
it?
I find it more in revolver rounds
Okay.
than I do in semi-autos. And again, the semi-autos, because of how they load, you pretty much wouldn't want something like that, just
Right.
for the fact that it could grab onto, it could soften, hit something, and then kind of grab onto it and not fully seat into the chamber.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
that makes
I do find
sense.
it more in revolvers
Yeah.
and maybe rifle cartridges,
Okay,
like lever guns and bolt guns, than,
nice.
yeah.
Okay. So those are going to be your initialisms for ammo that are the most common.
Yeah.
There's a ton more. There's so much. We could do a whole show on ammo.
We could do multiple shows.
multiple
on it.
shows.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's
Yeah,
crazy.
because I think we already did like almost a whole show on ammo, and we didn't even mean to.
Right.
Because you get into this rabbit hole, you could just talk about ammo all day long,
Yeah.
because there's so many different types. There's so many different calibers. There's just so
Absolutely.
many.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try to stay on task here and try to talk about this stuff.
Good
all right.
luck.
So yeah. All right. So getting into the 9mm. So there's so many. So it's the same exact 9mm, like Glock 19 or whatever gun it is that
Right.
people bring to my class,
Right.
and they all shoot 9mm.
Right.
And the same 9mm, same box of ammo that they're all going to shoot, but their guns say 3 different things.
Right.
So why is that? So 9 para.
9 Parabellum or
Right.
para.
Yeah. It says 9 para on there, and people are like, what is that? You
Right.
know, and then again, that 9x19, and then also the 9mm
Luger.
Luger.
Right.
And then we're really going to confuse you and throw you in the 9mm Kurtz, but we won't talk about that right now. So 9 para derives from the Latin motto, if you want peace, prepare for war.
I did not know that. Look at that.
So Parabellum, that's where that's derived from, that Latin motto.
Okay.
And then it was made for war, basically. But
absolutely.
yeah. So, yeah, wait till Biden sees this. Oh, if President Biden sees this, 9mm is out now. They're banning it for sure.
It's meant for war.
It is. It says, so 9mm Parabellum was made for war, but basically are just 9mm full metal jackets.
Well, thank God I don't use 9mm Parabellum.
Right.
I use 9x19, so I'm good.
There you go.
That's not for war.
Right. Well, it was made for war. All right, so Parabellum and 9mm Luger.
Right.
Why are there different names? Like, why do they do that?
I don't have a good answer for you. I really don't. It is quite confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Luger was a German firearm from, I know it was used in World War II. It might have been before World War II as far as when it was, actually manufactured. But it's a semi-automatic, and it takes that 9x19 cartridge. So I think, I don't know if it was necessarily Slang or just kind of morphed into that on the 9mm Luger, because the Germans also had a cartridge that you mentioned just a second ago, the 9mm Kurtz, which for us is a 380.
Right. Terrifying, right? So you got to be really careful. So there's a couple of brands that put 9mm on a 380 box.
Right. And they're usually German manufactured.
They're German
because of that.
Yep. So you have to really be careful with that, because the German, like you said, the German manufacturers or where that's coming from could be actually a 380 round. So you're going to want to make sure that your 9mm is actually 9mm. And how would somebody know that? It shouldn't say Kurtz.
Correct.
And it shouldn't say, what did Gecko say on it? Norma.
Kurtz.
It says Kurtz. Okay,
Kurtz,
so if it says Kurtz, 9mm Kurtz with a K, Kurtz.
Yep.
It is not 9mm Luger, Para, or 9x19. You do not want to put that in a 9mm.
And that's also, during the pandemic, we had a lot of people that were, looking for ammo. They bought a 9mm gun. They had no idea about jack shit, and they're buying 9mm Makarov.
Oh, we had so many of those returned.
Correct. Which again, it's a different, that is a Russian round.
Yes.
And it is, different height. So it's 9, meaning 9mm around. And that's what I talk about, the 9mm by 19. That means it's 9mm around and it's 19mm tall. And then you'll get into the Kurtz, which is 9x17, I believe, and then Makarov is 9x20. And you also have 9x21. You have 9x18.
Right. So there's a lot.
It's the same this way, but it's different this way.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to want to be careful with that.
9mm Makarov. 9mm. So Makarov is 9x18, I believe.
So it gets a little confusing, but we want to give you a couple tips. So if it says Makarov, that's an unusual round. It's not a common round, so it's probably not the gun that you're using it for. But again,
it's
look
a
it up.
Russian round, so it's very common over there, just for the fact of what it is. But over here, it's not necessarily as common as your 9mm Luger, Parabellum, or 9x19.
So Parabellum, Luger, and 9x19 are all the same. Those are the most common cartridges here. Anything that says Kurtz or Makarov, that's going to give you a heads up that that's not necessarily what you need. So definitely check your owner's manual, check your gun. What's stamped on your gun is the ammo that you should be using on it. It could be catastrophic. So don't use the wrong ammunition in your gun, because that's really bad.
Absolutely.
All right, so another thing that we hear is ACP, and ACP is the most common with 45 ACP, right? 380 ACP. So what makes it an ACP other than a like a millimeter? Why isn't it 380 millimeter?
So it was when the cartridge was created, whoever created it named it.
Okay.
So the 45 ACP, the ACP stands for Automatic Colt Pistol.
Even if it's not a Colt, right?
Correct.
Because there's 45 Glocks.
Correct. Well, there's also 45 Gap that Glock made.
Yes.
Which is different than 45 ACP.
Correct.
Because
Why not confuse people even more? Yeah.
So,
and this is where it comes down to, we can do a whole show on it, but yeah, it's very important for you to look at your gun. It's usually stamped on the chamber, which would be sitting inside your ejection port. If you're not familiar with your gun, when it's not, the slide's not pulled back, you should be able to see it through your ejection port.
Should be on the chamber somewhere or on the slide, most likely. And it could be in multiple places.
Yeah.
So there are some manufacturers that definitely put it in multiple places.
Yes.
So Glock, for instance, does put it in multiple places.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so you got to be real careful, guys, about ammunition. But ACP is automatic Colt pistol.
Yep.
And it's not just for Colts.
Correct.
So 380, same thing. 380 ACP is...
just tells you that, kind of what it's for. And that's more of an American, right? Your metric system is going to be more European, and although it's stuck here, your 380, obviously it's not 9mm.
Right, it's smaller.
So,
yeah. Then you get into 22 long rifle. So I always blow my students' minds when we talk about 22 long rifle, because the pistols, the semi-automatic pistols we use are a decent size. They're not subcompact. They're kind of like they're not full size, but what are they considered? Subcompact? The Taurus TX22?
It would be considered a compact, probably a compact or a full size.
Okay, so we use those semi-automatics, and people say, why does it take long rifle? Like, why is it named long rifle? And I'm like, well, because it can go in a rifle, it can go in a revolver, it can go in a semi-automatic, so it doesn't necessarily dictate the size of the gun or what type of gun it is. The 22 long rifle is a very common caliber that goes in multiple different guns.
The biggest thing is, when these things were created, somebody made it.
Yeah.
And when they made it, they named it.
Right.
So the question is, you go, why was it named that? Well, because that's what whoever made it decided they wanted to call it.
Yeah.
Now, what came first? Because ultimately you have a long rifle, but you also have 22 short. You have 22 long, and then you have 22 long rifle.
Right, and Magnum. So Magnum is actually longer than a long rifle.
Correct.
22 long rifle is shorter than a 22 Magnum. So again, the names are very
mind-numbing,
over the top. So definitely check with, double check your gun and the ammo.
And if you don't know, this is kind of one of those, if somebody comes up to you and asks you questions like this, obviously they're probably going to be a novice, and don't treat them like they're a novice, because you at some point in time were probably there if you know a lot.
Right.
So we just got to kind of remember, we got to kind of pass it down.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's what we're here for. And some people might be like, oh, this is, I already know all this stuff, right? But a lot of people don't know it, and we want to make sure that people are safe and they are educated. So 45 long Colt, how about that? Different than 45 ACP.
Correct.
Right? So 45 long Colt, 45 LC is going to be different than 45 ACP. Very different.
Yeah, and that's definitely been around a lot longer. That's more of your revolver round. So,
yes.
Yep.
Exactly. All right, cool. So I also came across the term breech loading. So I wasn't quite sure what that is. So can you explain what a breech?
So the breech is basically your chamber.
Your breech is your chamber.
Right.
Okay.
So and this is usually going to be in rifles, but they have breech loaders, and the breech loaders, it opens up and you just push it straight into the breech and then close it down.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So like a top brake almost? Or that's different?
Technically, a top brake is a top brake.
Okay.
So, and a breech loader, albeit you're putting it into the breech and then closing it, but
okay,
yeah,
cool. So then we're going to get into the rail. So there's a bunch of different ways to attach things to your gun, and it not only is rifles or pistols.
It could be pistols as well.
Yeah, it could be handguns too, right?
Sure.
Some revolvers and other guns have rails as well that you can attach different things to. So I wanted to touch on those real quick. So Picatinny, Weaver, M-Lock, Key Mod, if you haven't heard of these before, these are all different terms. Yeah. So we brought a couple of examples, and then we kind of talk about it a little bit, but yeah, so can you explain the difference between a Picatinny and a Weaver?
Sure. So since the AR-15 has come around, they use Picatinny. So this is going to be your Picatinny Rail. So I'm going to pick this little sucker up here real quick. So our Picatinny Rail is going to be on top, and it has symmetrical notches throughout this particular thing, and they are numbered. So it kind of tells you that, so that if you ever want to take something off and you want to put it back on, you can put it in the exact same spot.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
Right. If you can remember what number it's on.
Right. You
So
have to write it down.
first. I don't do that. But anyway, so this is going to give you your symmetrical. A weaver looks similar, but it's not as symmetrical.
So different sizes, you mean?
It is. So the notches are a little bit different sizes and a little bit further apart.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of showing up on the screen there.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep. Also, the side cut is a little bit different.
Okay.
So you'd almost say, oh, they can fit on. No, it doesn't fit
doesn't
either
fit.
way.
Okay.
So, but to give you an idea, this is a way to attach, whether it's attaching stuff on the top or on the bottom.
Okay.
Now, we get into hand guards, and this is where we start talking about M-lock and key mod.
Yes.
So key mod, I'm not sure if we have a picture of that or not.
Key mod looks like a key.
It looks like a keyhole,
Yeah,
like the old
so
skeleton
it's like
keyhole.
bigger on the
it's round
bottom, and then it's got the
dash.
little, yep.
And then this is just a straight dash.
Okay.
Okay? So the M-lock was kind of like you went through the whole, years ago, VHS and Betamax, and you went through all these other, things. Same situation.
Same thing.
Key mod and M-lock kind of won the war, if you will.
Yeah.
That seems to be the most popular.
Yep.
And what we've done is on here, it makes it not, there we go. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks,
again,
Rob.
Johnny on the spot. Robbie on the spot.
Yes.
So on this particular version of the gun, we have nothing down below. It actually, I'm going to turn it this way since we're looking at that camera. It makes it nice and easy to kind of grab onto. When you add the Picatinny all the way around, it makes it very prickly.
Gotcha.
So it's hard on the hands. So, if you don't mind taking this one for
Sure.
a second here, I'll show you what we did is we added
Okay.
2 Picatinny sections on here so that we're able to add this fun little guy.
A blaster?
This is definitely a blaster. So this is a 37 millimeter launcher.
Yeah.
So smoke launcher.
Super fun.
So we can put that on, we put our little screws to lock it into place, and it now sits on here just like that.
Yep.
So now we're able to utilize this particular item. And if I go, hey, I don't want to use this anymore, we undo the screws, we slide it off, and we can go, okay, if I want, I can undo the screws here and take off these 2 particular sections so that it goes back to that.
So cool.
Yes.
It's like a little Lego, I want to say Legos,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you could just build it, like even that red dot is sitting on
Correct.
a rail, Picatinny.
And
No.
it has a quick disconnect on it, so we just hit the button if I can do this properly. And now
Yeah,
we're off.
so cool.
And if I want to put it back on, I just,
Right. And the Weaver is more of an older, right?
It is.
So Picatinny
That
is
was
the
around
more
longer.
modern, thing. So most
Correct.
of the time people are coming in, they're not looking for Weaver unless it's on an older gun, right?
yeah, you'll find that on most of your bolt guns and stuff like that, you'll find weaver rails.
Yeah.
So most companies nowadays, I think, are trying to switch to Picatinny just because it's so universal.
Gotcha.
So,
Cool.
yep.
Well, how cool is that? Thank you for all that information.
Has been nailed.
It has been nailed,
Officially.
yes. We're going to talk about measurements like MOA, radian, and millimeter.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to touch on those a little bit, because I've never even heard of those.
Right.
I mean, MOA I hear when we're talking about red dots and optics and stuff like that, right?
Correct. So ultimately, MOA stands for minute of angle. Now, what does that mean?
Right.
So minute of angle, 1 minute of angle equals 1 inch at 100 yards. So get another call. I'm very popular today.
You are so popular.
Yes. So 1 inch at 100 yards is what that means. You'll hear that a lot of times in how accurate is your firearm.
Okay.
So what that means is if you shoot that gun perfectly each time, like you could set up on a bench rest, there's nobody really touching the thing, you pull the trigger 3 different times, get 3 different bullets, and ultimately what's going to happen is if it's within 1 inch of each other, you're inside 1 MOA.
Oh.
If it's out of that, so you're now sub MOA or you're above MOA. And some guns will guarantee a particular grouping. We call that a grouping.
Yeah.
Will guarantee a particular grouping. So it might be sub MOA grouping, and they might tell you specifically it might be 0.75 MOA or half MOA. And that
Okay.
kind of gives you an idea.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
when you're talking about red dots, and you might talk about what you're looking at. So the dot itself,
Yeah, I noticed some are small, some are bigger, but you can
That's
move
correct.
that too usually on them, right? Are they fixed?
well, the size is fixed.
Okay.
And what that might be is if it's a 3 MOA dot, that tells you it's covering 3 inches at 100. So if you look at a target that's 100 yards downrange, that particular dot is covering 3 inches of the target. If it's 6 MOA, it's covering 6 inches of the target.
Okay. Wow.
Now, that can be good and bad because ultimately if you're trying to do a very fine shot, you want to have much less room for error, so you want to have that finer, smaller dot.
MOA, yeah.
Correct.
That makes sense. Awesome.
So there you go.
Very cool. There you go.
Right.
Well, that was for the more advanced people, for sure.
And then we talk about MOA, in regards to moving your dot. So if you're shooting and you go, oh, I'm off.
Yeah.
And you want to then change where your reticle is aiming at, we deal with MOA. And that gets into how far do I need to move it?
The length of where you're shooting and stuff like that does determine where you're going to move it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting at 100 yards and you want to move it 1 inch, usually most of these things are what we call quarter MOA adjustments. So you do 4 clicks to move 1 inch.
There you go. Very cool. There you have it.
And then milliradian is the European version of that. So it's just different numbers. So they go, 10 equals 1 as opposed to quarter. So it's much more finite, but again, different measurements, different. So, yeah.
Lots going on there.
Yeah. Some people in this, the higher end precision shooting stuff like milliradian better because it's a little bit more finite.
Okay.
But MOA is kind of your generic term and most used term.
Nice.
Yes.
I like it. I learned something.
There we go.
You want to learn something?
Oh,
I have a fun fact.
Oh, another
you
fun
ready?
fact. Fun fact with Jillian.
The bullet was invented in 1882 by the Swiss Colonel Edward Rubin. 1882.
So I'm
there he is.
Oh, look
I mean, you nailed it.
Dude, that is a hell of. He's got a hell of a squirrel going.
Got a picture going.
Oh yeah.
He did. Did he have a squirrel?
He had a squirrel.
That's awesome.
So
1882.
I guess before then it would have just been
muzzle loaders or black powder.
And they weren't bullets, right? They would have been literally balls.
Like a little cannon. Oh, like a little cannon. That face when I looked up, I was like, whoa. All right, cool. Well, thank you for all that information. That was really good, and I hope you guys learned something there. And let's just touch back, and if you're just joining us, thank you for watching. You're joining Tactical Talk with Mad Dog Armory. I'm Jillian, and this is Shad, and we are talking initialisms, synonyms, gun slang, and we're going to now do Tactical Shit with Shad. So it's
Tactical
a new
Shit with Shad. New
segment.
Shit with Shad.
Yes, new shit with Shad.
New shit, not Tactical Shit with Shad.
Did I say tactical shit?
You did.
Oh shit. So no, why does it, I wrote tactical shit with Shad.
You did.
That's why I'm reading off my paper.
She's doing well reading.
Definitely
and she definitely
not.
has it on there.
It's definitely not tactical shit with Shad.
It's not tactical shit.
It is new shit with Shad. So let's do that. I mean,
hey, welcome back, everybody.
Kind of love that intro. All right, Shad. So you have a couple of things you're going to talk about in your new shit.
I do. So one of the things that was released 2 months ago, I think, Springfield Armory basically told everybody that they're releasing a new Bullpup, which that's a term that probably people don't know.
Oh, okay.
Bullpup rifle called the Hellion.
Like it.
Yes. So the Hellion, and what I can just talk about Bullpup real quick. So Bullpup means that your action is in front of your magazine.
Gotcha.
So your trigger is in front of your magazine.
Okay.
So what that does, it makes a much smaller package. So ultimately that firearm is about the same size as this pistol, but instead of being a pistol, it's a rifle because it's got 16-inch barrel.
And it's a bullpup.
And it is what they call a bullpup.
Right.
Yes. So it's got a 16-inch barrel. It is completely ambidextrous. So you're able to move your charging handle if you need to from either side. The charging handle sits below the Picatinny Rail, now that we know what that is, which we can see on the screen right now. It runs across pretty much the 3/4 of the length of the gun. But in front of the trigger, we can see that little thing underneath the Picatinny Rail. That's your charging handle that allows you to get the gun loaded and ready to shoot. The sights, went a little too far. The sights on that are, they can fold into the Picatinny Rail. So if you just want to throw a red dot on it, you can. It comes with a 30-round mag.
Nice.
The stock is adjustable, does have a little bit of adjustment on it. I think it's 28 inches overall length, or 28 and a half inches overall length. And then if you adjust the stock out a little bit, I think it goes out to 30 inches or 31 inches.
Okay. Cool.
But it is a sharp-looking gun. They're just introducing themselves into the market of the bullpup.
Is it out now?
It is. We just got one ordered. It's coming in the shop. We have a really good customer of ours that had one on order, so he is finally getting it. He was the first. When it first came out, he contacted us and said that he wanted us.
He wanted to be number one on the list? Yeah.
He was number one on the list.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. And then Sig Sauer.
Sig just recently introduced that they were doing a 30-round P320 Mag, which is freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's going to kind of compete with some of the Glock mags, the high-capacity Glock mags. Mm-hmm. So I know that look at that. How ridiculous is that? It's phenomenally ridiculous. I love it.
Again, Biden is going to definitely go crazy on that.
Mind he has. He really doesn't have a mind left. No. But nonetheless, he's going to lose his mind. So,
love that. Oh, it can go in the X5 too, huh?
So any P320. Nice. It'll fit in any SIG P320.
Love that.
And then there's a lot of manufacturers that are starting to make items that take P320 mags, since it's the new military firearm.
Yep.
So that definitely helps out.
So cool.
Yes.
Awesome.
So what else? I think I also have the Ruger. Mm-hmm. The Ruger Pc Carbine.
Yes.
This is a new variant. So Magpul makes their backpacker stock. And what this does is it allows you to fold it up and put it kind of inside itself.
It's so cool.
It is. Inside of the cheek weld as well, there is a door that allows you to store ammunition, some other stuff. We don't have one on hand yet, but I can't wait to get one on hand. The stock itself has been out for a little bit.
Do we not have one in Largo? Isn't that the one that one of our employees wanted?
We have a 22 variant.
Oh, okay.
We have the 1022 version. This is the PC Carbine, so this is a 9mm.
Gotcha.
So that cheek weld is going to be a little bit bigger, so I'm curious to see if we can fit like a suppressor or something inside of that.
Oh, cool.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that's very cool. I love that. I like that a lot, because we have the backpack guns are great. You know, if you want to go back and watch the show about the bug out bags, that's something you're going to want in your bug out bag for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yep. Because we have one that's in our bug out bag that's a little different. The Kel-Tec. Yep. We have that's a 9mm. Yep.
That folds into itself. The sub 2000.
Yeah. So that folds
into itself.
Yep. Yep. So that's kind of cool too, but we'll touch on that. Yep. And then so that's cool, and that's a new Ruger. Yep. He's doing a good job with that.
The new version of the PC Carbine. Again, the PC Carbine's been out for several years, but this is just a new variant of that particular firearm. Yeah. So definitely very cool.
Yes. Yep. Very cool item for sure. Yep. Awesome. Well, new shit with Shad.
Yeah, baby. Nailed it.
So good. I love it. I love new products. People are asking about new products, and they want to hear about them. So we'll do that. I'd like to do it every week, if you don't mind.
As long as there's stuff to talk about, absolutely.
I'm sure there will be. Yeah, for sure. All right, so I want to get into some news. There's a couple of things that are going on. One of them being California. So a court just banned, it strike down the ban on semi-automatic gun sales to those 21 and over, calling it unconstitutional. Because it is unconstitutional.
At what age? So does that mean
21
18?
And over.
Right, but does that mean now that they can buy it at 18? Or
No. A federal appeals court struck down. So California put in place, I had the date on here, July 1st, 2021. Yep. They restricted purchases of semi-automatic weapons to one per month for all ages. And then prohibited sales of semi-automatic firearms to anyone, under the age of 21. Oh.
But it's any semi-automatic.
But it's any semi-automatic.
Right. So I wonder if that just goes now to 18.
Right. So 18 to 21 is what they're trying to get it passed for.
In Florida, Florida has a law where you can't buy any kind of firearm.
Any kind of firearm.
21.
Correct.
So I wonder if now that's going to affect that. So somebody's got to kind of say, hey, what the hell?
Right.
I mean, technically, before it was 21 for pistols and it was 18 for shotguns and long guns.
Right. And I'm very excited because this this judge basically said it infringes on your Second Amendment rights to
Right, to
those
defend
18
yourself.
to 21.
Absolutely.
If you can fight for the country, you should be able to buy a firearm.
I agree wholeheartedly.
You could literally have a firearm in the military at 18, but you can't have a firearm to protect yourself.
Gets in the same situation of
Crazy.
alcohol,
Yeah.
right? And the same thing. It's like you can go die for your country, but you can't drink alcohol.
Right.
Which again, it's a slippery slope. I get it.
It's a little more prevalent in guns because you're actually using firearms in the military,
Agreed.
but only when you're on duty,
Agreed.
not when you're off duty. So it's
Right.
kind of like you could defend the country, but you can't defend your mother or yourself.
When I was younger,
it's crazy to me.
So my brother Jay was in the military, and he went in at a young age. And at that point in time, if you were in the military, you could drink in Florida at 18.
Really?
Yes. So if you're in the military,
Wow.
But it did change shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure something happened and they changed it.
That was a thing
Yeah.
when we were younger.
And what changed the age from 18 to 21 in Florida was Parkland.
Correct.
And Parkland
The
was
Parkland
horrible,
shooting.
but
And the kid went out and bought an AR-15 at, what was he, 19?
Yeah,
I think he was
I mean,
19 years old or
right.
20 years old, whatever it was.
but he was also on social media talking about it for quite some time, and
Right.
nobody,
And the
flagged
FBI had been
him.
to his house multiple times.
Right.
And interviewed him multiple times. Like, what the hell?
Right. So everybody gets punished for that
Absolutely.
one lunatic.
Yep.
So anyway, okay, so that was
That's
news.
the American way.
Yeah. Another news article that's out right now is Biden just pulled 3 offshore oil leases, so we can't do new drilling. So the average gas price right now is $4.14.
Should keep going down, right? It's going down now, isn't it? It's right. It hasn't been going down.
Well, yeah, it went down a little bit,
Like
but
a
now
penny?
it's $4.41 average per gallon. I mean,
I filled up the other day, and here for, was it
It's
89
$80 something
octane?
dollars.
It was $4.29 a gallon.
yeah, I just filled
locally.
up my car, and it was over $80. I took a picture, and it also had that sticker like "You did it," like right next to it. So I took a picture
Yeah.
of it, and I'm like, "Damn it!"
He has
so
no idea what he's doing.
thanks a lot.
Literally.
Really appreciate
Sleepy.
that. Sleepy Joe.
Go back to bed.
Let's get him out of here. Okay, so one other thing I want to talk about is this smart gun. So it's industry related. So,
Okay.
So there's a new smart gun, and I say new, but I just learned about it. So I think, I'm not sure if it's released yet, but it costs about $850. They're calling it a smart gun because it uses this technology of your fingerprint. So it's kind of like a
unlock it.
biometric, yeah.
Correct.
To unlock it, so it won't shoot without your fingerprint. It's saying that it's going to reduce unintentional child shootings and suicides because minors can't gain access to it. They can gain access, but they can't shoot it.
Right.
So basically, when you grip it, it would be your first finger, I think.
Well, I think it said there was a couple ways of doing it. The one that we saw, it was on the side, so they actually had to put their finger on it, unlock it, and then they were able to manipulate the gun.
Yeah.
I don't know if it locks the action or not, or if it just keeps the trigger from activating. I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
I didn't look too
Right.
much into it.
It
I was
looked
just
interesting.
I was interested in it.
It looks
It's a
interesting,
company
but-
called Lodestar, Lode Star, and they're supposed to start selling them next year. And the biometric
Yeah, there you
part
go.
of it allows 10 fingerprints,
Yeah,
so it's
I think that
actually
does
on the
allow
grip.
On
yeah.
your grip. And then there was one that was also on the side,
Yeah.
up more towards the frame.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, and then you can also control it from your phone. So I thought it was great, and I know that some people are against it, and they're like, "Oh, well, it's got battery, it's technology," but
It can fail, and God knows if you need it, and you need it in that situation, and it doesn't function the way it's supposed to function, that's going to be awful. I mean, we
Right.
had friends that had that situation.
Sure.
They
We
had
talked
a
about that.
safe,
Yeah.
and they went to go into the safe in order to, because they heard bump in the night, and
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't remember the code.
yeah. Yeah, it's very scary, but that can happen too. So that's the
Absolutely.
thing. So things can fail. So I'm all
Yep.
about this. I think it's kind of cool.
It's an option,
I actually
right?
talked about
It's
it
an
not too long ago, like inventing something like that. And then
Right.
I just saw this and I was like, darn it, they beat me to it.
Double teams.
Because safes can fail,
Sure.
right? Biometrics, we had a biometric safe that we had a hard time kind of,
Yeah,
it wouldn't
sure enough.
read our fingerprints, and we'd reset it all the time, and
Right.
we'd do it again, and I'm like, why isn't it working? So that also happens. So they're
does
saying
happen.
you won't need a safe with this because that is your safe. So, I mean, it's kind of cool. I want to check it out. So we'll do a little more research on it and see, what that entails. But I thought that was some cool news because
Sure.
I think it's a cool thing to try to help people stay safe. So
anything that you can do, again, it's one of those things. It doesn't mean that you have to buy it, and it's not like, so it's an option. It just gives you an option, and if you're worried about something like that happening, this is one way to kind of help cover that situation.
For sure. Absolutely. And then my last piece of news is not industry related, but have you seen anything on this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing?
Very, very little. We were actually just talking about it in the shop yesterday.
Were you? Yeah.
Just a little bit, but it's kind of like, what the hell? I mean, apparently he's a battered husband. Wow.
I mean, I don't really know. I haven't been watching it all, but people were talking about it, I think, at the shooting club, and we were talking about it. So I guess Heard, the Amber chick, is 36. Depp is 58, and she wrote some article about being abused and didn't mention him, but I guess it hurt his career, and he got dropped by a bunch of people. And so there's this whole trial, and people are like obsessed with it. And I haven't watched it. I'm just too busy. But one of the things that stuck out to me is she pooped in their bed. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, first of all, ew. And second of all, why would you poop in your own bed? Like, what does that prove? I mean, I think
she can shit the bed.
I think that he should definitely win the case just on that alone. If you poop in the bed, on my side of the bed, I'm going to be very upset.
She's a little out there, for sure.
I mean, I kind of liked her. She's pretty. I liked some of the movies she's in. I'm like, but I mean, come on, girl.
I don't even know what movies she's in. No idea.
Actually, I couldn't name one, but I can't name movies anyway. But I know I've seen her before. So, but yeah, that's gross. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't shit the bed.
Yeah, don't shit the bed. All right, and then in closing, I'm not going to have time to show you my new car, but I'll show you next week because we're running out of time. But thank you for joining Tactical Talk. Have a great day. Happy Friday.
Bye. Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.